Welcome to the Blue Cafe. We offer stories of infidelity, betrayal, and redemption. Please like and subscribe if you are enjoying what you are hearing. Now, on to today's story. No idea how to overcome everything. Advice. I will start off by saying my situation is definitely mild in comparison to some stories, so I'm sorry if I seem like I'm just whining over nothing. It's quite a long story and I typed it all out earlier and then the post is just gone, so I'll give a shortened version. Woman that worked near where my 31F husband, 32M, worked literally waved him down while he had headphones in. More than once he ignored her the first few times and then she was literally in front of him so he couldn't. They would meet up before their stores opened and just walk around. That didn't bother me or anything, and he had mentioned her in passing, but it was such a non-event it never clicked that's who it was. Was not until I noticed him texting a fair bit. He usually texts work and that's it, we don't have a banging social life. So I must have subconsciously been like, what's going on here? I noticed for a few days that he was taking his phone up to the bathroom and even taking the charger and hiding his phone when he would go on his runs. Normally he would charge his phone somewhere downstairs and just leave his phone in the usual spots, so I was like, that's a bit odd. I was going through a bad time with postnatal depression, and since I don't really get to leave the house due to not driving, was pretty down etc, so thought I was just being a paranoid woman. I did wait until he went on his run one night, and decided I was going to check out his phone. I hate that I've done that, and that I ever felt the need to do that. I even apologized for doing that, but I had to know. His bag was sort of near the front door, he never puts it away, it's normally kept by the stairs, and the phone was in the front pocket under a heap of stuff, and I'm like, okay, he's hiding it on purpose, so then looked. If I had seen the phone where it was and I didn't notice sneaky moves, I wouldn't have even thought to look. I had a look. She was on his phone under the name Andrew. I don't get why he had to hide it. The texts weren't sexual at all. But I dunno, he could have deleted messages, as I know when he got me to read all the messages that some were missing, just about a marriage celebrant, or something, so again nothing suggestive at all. I was due to return to work the next day. I ended up losing my job. Not sure if it's because I seemed quite upset and my face was red due to anxiety. He had met up with her at the local shops while with our son. She had apparently brought along her fiancé. But I wasn't there, so I don't know. Then I tried to accept this friendship and agreed to meet her, but my psychologist advised against that. I was still going to. She offered to bake for me. I decided not to go forward with the introductions. It just made me uncomfortable, and eventually he deleted her. He said he didn't want confrontation etc, as she did work close by, but I think she had or was leaving to work elsewhere at this point. It did and does still feel like her friendship meant more than our marriage. This person is like 6 years younger, disposable income. Their worst issue in life is their partner spent too much money on Dungeons and Dragons dice. They tried to tell my husband they don't have many friends and just hang out with their partner's friends, yet she has about 1,300 friends on Facebook and seems to be pretty popular. My husband was annoyed he got lied to about that and wonders what else she lied about. My psych thinks she wanted more attention from him than he was willing to give, and my husband sort of entertained the attention as a bit of an ego boost, but that he was never interested in her as such. But it's been 6 months now and I've really struggled. I mean, it's something so small, but it's the lies and picking a friendship over me, and now I would feel. I've lost 25 kilograms since then. I was a little bigger before, same size as when my husband met me, but I just felt super self-conscious. I am still 25 kilograms lighter. I don't think there's been many days in the past 6 months where I haven't felt ugly and just not worth anything anymore. And I have to say, even when I was heavier I didn't feel as bad as I do now. I feel I'm in a constant panic. And I'm constantly trying to distance myself, as a defense mechanism so I don't get hurt again. I have offered open relationships, he's declined. I have even said maybe we should take a break so I can work through this on my own so I'm not being a constant pain, but he says no and that it's his job to reassure me etc. but I just struggle. And I don't feel like I'm ever going to get out of this. Like, is it possible to move on? How do you fix your low self-esteem and constant worry that you're not enough? It's really depressing. Grimacing face. Yes, he made a mistake by allowing the other woman to get too close to him. Fortunately, he hasn't crossed the line, so forgive him and forget, since he seems to be a caring husband. Otherwise you take a risk of alienating him. Don't distance yourself. He'll turn this against you and become resentful, and will start looking for external validation elsewhere. You must overcome your insecurities. Find a new counselor. Sign obviously the current one is not helping you much. Edit, show that you love him, as much as you do. He may feel insecure, especially if he feels some guilt, and is ashamed of his mistake. In such an emotionally vulnerable state, he is prone to manipulation and may easily get attracted to a woman who will sympathize with his emotions. I haven't been in therapy for long. To be honest, I was not going for this issue, but they happened at a similar time etc. and it took a few sessions to gain trust for me to feel comfortable to talk, as I don't like talking in person, and only a few sessions have been about this. I certainly try not to push him away too much, as like you said, I worry that now how I react will be what actually stuffs everything. He's not a bad guy at all. Just naive and enjoyed the attention she gave. He's not a bad guy at all. Just naive and enjoyed the attention she gave. This is exactly how I felt about your husband. Everybody likes attention, to some extent, but men are particularly susceptible to it since our egos like to be cuddled, especially if we think we provide well for our families. Good men are conditioned to feel responsible for their families and are prepared to work hard to provide for them, and we don't expect much in return since we have this internal mechanism of reward. It just gives us pleasure to be good at what we're doing. But we still like some appreciation for the work well done, and expect punishment for failures, just as a guiding mechanism, to be sure that we are going in the right direction. So don't be afraid to praise him and show your emotions if you feel good about him. It is so easy to manipulate us, so just do it, for the benefit of the whole family. The worst a woman can do is to take her man for granted. We are not as self-confident as we pretend to be. We also have our insecurities since we want to be perfect in most what we do, and we need some external confirmation. You are right. I have definitely seen my husband's insecurities and he will act very confident, but like everyone he's not going to be as confident as he makes out. He has admitted that. Oh yes, of course. Nobody wants to feel like they are doing all this stuff and someone's on the receiving end like, yeah thanks mate. Like for me it would be like if I just cleaned all the time and he came home and grunted at what I didn't get done. It would be like, why bother? But you offer good insight for sure. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Not a bad guy. He went to great lengths to hide his phone, even hiding her under a guy's name. Sorry, that is not naivety, and it is not good guy behavior. I just read your edit. Oh yes. I think you are very right there. And I have seen firsthand what women in the past have been like, and yeah. Wasn't nice. My only fear is this happening again now, obviously. Even trying everything may not be enough. Of course I can't just distance myself from everyone forever, haha, you worry too much. I assure you he took his lesson. He seems to be a responsible man, and the chances he'd repeat the same mistake are slim, so don't increase them by overreacting. Just love him and show this to him. Don't be afraid to be open and honest about your emotions. He'll appreciate it, unless they are overwhelming. Of course, while yes we do this, he's admitted he's a bit clueless, and yes this is true, so I have to lay it all out on the table, which is outside of my comfort zone because it's confronting, but better than miscommunication, which can be bad. You're a wise person. Yes, miscommunication is the worst. It is known to be the most common killer of good relationships. Being open and honest, on both sides, is the best vaccine against this virus. If none of you is good at this, you should learn it quickly, preferably together. If one of you is better at it, they should teach the other. A bit of laughing and joking helps, especially at the beginning. Also, sex is a good medicine against the miscommunication virus. Think if you can spice it up. This usually increases intimacy. And all the previous remarks about openness and honesty are valid in bed as well. Outside of the number being saved under Andrew, I'm not sure there's much to worry about. You said you don't have much of a social life, so it's possible that the increase in texting is just someone else's normal interaction. You say he hid his phone, but your description doesn't make it seem so much hidden as just in a different spot. You found it, looked through it, and saw nothing inappropriate. He offered to introduce you several times and you refused. I'm not saying anything definitive, I'm just saying from the outside it sounds a little less suspicious. The postnatal depression and your struggles with self-esteem and personal insecurities sound like they're having a big impact on your situation. It might be impacting your perception. I bring it up BC many times when someone in your situation feels that way. You become vulnerable to seeking/accepting attention from outside your marriage. It's something to be cognizant about now before that has a chance to happen. It's good that you're in counseling and I hope things work out for you. No, he admitted to knowingly hiding the bag, etc., and hiding things. It was in between our front door and our shoe cabinet, and I don't go up that end, because there is nothing there. I am also the more social one out of him and I, though she may interact at different times, like 11 p.m. etc., I don't know, she's 6 years younger with no children, she may still have energy left, smiley face. Also, I didn't decline straight away, and it wasn't until we were there to do so that we had almost run out of time for free parking and both just decided no. I was open to it prior to that, but just then and there was like, maybe it's not a good idea. Also, are you referring to the fact he could have had PND? Because I know even though I had it, I've never done that. Like ever. I am aware though that that can happen sometimes, or sometimes relationships can come to an end, etc. as a result. Thank you, smile. Hopefully it helps, smile. I appreciate the added context. BC, originally it didn't seem as suspect, which is also why I pointed out that I wasn't sure either way. What I meant by normal interactions was that if I just take 5 random friends of mine, they all interact with me differently. Some can't ever end a text thread, and some text 1 word or sentence a week. Some only text at night while others text first thing in the morning, SMH. I was pointing out that she could be any of those, which is different from what he's/you're used to. In regards to the introduction, it sounded like you and your therapist decided against it. The additional context clears that up. He definitely made a mistake, but it seems like he was pleasing people. Didn't want to upset a friendship. I don't think he realizes Hathaway was borderline an EA, or perhaps doesn't want to accept that. The problem with EAs is they very quickly shift to PAs. I do think reading more than friends might help him. And if you really want you two to move on from this, he needs to accept that he chose a friendship over his marriage. But I think if he can do that and show remorse, shortly you can move on from it. Yes, at first he didn't think it was an EA, but I showed him articles on it and he agreed that this is what was happening, but there was no physical attraction. I'm not oblivious that subconsciously there probably was, but either he doesn't want to admit to that, even though I have given opportunity many times to just tell me with no fear of backlash or holding it against him, etc. I just wanted honesty, but he's stuck on that one, which makes me feel a little easier, I guess, as he did admit a lot of stuff, and even if he didn't see it at the time, could see what it looked like, etc. And yes, I had seen that, so while I felt uneasy agreeing to meet her, I thought it was better to do so and try to accept it, that way I could judge for myself the relationship dynamic, but then I feel like that would have allowed her to be in our lives longer and eventually that would have happened. I'm definitely aware my husband gets along better with women. Most of his friends have been women, and that's fine by me so long as there are boundaries that aren't crossed. At best, this was an emotional affair. At best. He went to great lengths to hide her from you. Making her name a male in his phone and hiding his phone super secretly. He knew he was doing something wrong. He knew it. Has he apologized, or is he gaslighting you, making you think it's all in your head? You knew what he did. You don't have his permission to take a break. I highly encourage you to take a break. You have too much nice girl in you and letting him control the narrative. This episode should teach you that you need to fight for you. You deserve better. It doesn't sound like you'll properly addressed it and rug swept, so I'm sure that you're unaware, but you're probably losing love for him. He treated you horrible at your worst when you had PPD. Is that the kind of partner you want to ride or die with? What makes you think he won't do it again? Don't underplay this situation. This subreddit isn't about degrees of cheating. He cheated on you emotionally, hid it from you, and is likely gaslighting you about it now. You deserve a person who will be more respectful of you.